Hey, what's up you guys? In this video we're going to cover some IELTS speaking topics of 2021 from September to December. Especially it's good for those who are going to pass their exam during the next 4 months. But before you start, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This will support me to continue doing such videos. Firstly, let's look at part 1 topics that you can meet on your IELTS exam. Firstly, I see here the topic about apps. So it's a very modern type of question because, as you know, in our life we use mobile phone, we use various apps quite frequently, and that's why, of course, you can meet such questions during your speaking exam too. So the first one is, what apps have you recently used? It's a question about your recent usage, so you can say that you have recently used some apps that could help you prepare to your IELTS exam. Or you can use some social media. For example, you can say that I use social media to communicate with my friends, to get some help from them, to improve my speaking because I've been preparing for this exam. Please make a pause and like this video. It really motivates me to prepare such videos for you. Next, what kinds of apps are you usually interested in? Again, it can be some social media apps, or it can be some apps from which you can read some books, watch some interesting videos. It can be YouTube, it can be some books applications. Again, of course, it's your choice. What was the first app you used? If you can remember, just say it. If you cannot, just think about any app. You can say it was a Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, some apps that you've used for the first time. What kinds of apps would you like to use in the future? Here I would advise you being a bit creative, not saying just like I want to see new social media apps, or you will just talk or be silent during this question and say nothing. You have to say something creative. For example, you can say that some schedule apps that will facilitate my working process, or it can be some audiobooks apps that will facilitate the process of reading books. So try to think about something creative, again, to impress the examiner a bit. And let's look at another type of questions in part 1. It's about colors. Firstly, what's your favorite color? You can say any color, but always explain why it's good. For example, you can say, it suits me well, it's my favorite color. Or, I don't know, I have all clothes in this color. Next, what's the color you dislike? Again, you have to say one color and you have to say something that you associate with this color, of course, something negative. For example, you can say that this reminds me about my school and I hated my school, that's why I don't like this color. What colors do your friends like most? This is like, again, you can be a bit creative about this. You can say that actually they prefer some bright colors, or they prefer some colors like red, I don't know, orange, that will make them distinguished from other people. And what color makes you uncomfortable in your room? Again, it's about you. I can't say something for sure. Maybe some colors that remind you about some negative experience in your life. So you can mention these colors, but of course, never forget to explain it why. So, for example, you can say that green color, I don't like green color because it makes me nervous, I can't sleep. Or you can say, I hate green color because it reminds me about the book that I was reading at school, because at that time I had to pass one exam which was very difficult for me. So something creative, you have to think about this before. And now let's go to part 2. Here it is the question, describe a time when you moved to a new home school. When you moved, where you moved, why, and how you felt about it. So part 2 questions, they are always like divided into 2 parts, the descriptive part and educational part. In the descriptive part, you just give some information about the situation which happened to you. For example, this move. So when, where, and why. You just describe the situation, like saying where you moved, when it happened, and why it happened. For example, maybe your parents sold their house and you were forced to move with them to another house, and thus you were forced to change your school or home. This was the reason. You can say when it happened and at which place, like where it happened. But then you have to go to the emotional part, like how you felt about this. This part is usually always in part 2, where you have to add some emotion, like what you felt. You can say that it was very difficult to you, you couldn't adapt to the environment, it was difficult at school, you couldn't find new friends, you couldn't communicate with teachers or school children. So you can add different information regarding you, and here you, of course, you should add some emotions, some words that will show your emotions. For example, you were upset, you were disappointed, you supposed to be alone, you felt as if people didn't like you at that school, like students didn't like you. And then, of course, go to the positive ending, happy end, like to finish your story at a good point. And next, here you have some questions like why do people move? So here again you can describe some workplace change or some other purposes why people move. For example, they could get married with people who live in other countries or cities, or what problems will people face while moving to a new place, how they solve these problems. So here 2 questions, you can mention the problem and mention the solution. For example, you can say that the big problem is to find new friends, and they can solve it by joining some groups, by going to cafes, restaurants, or joining some communities, and by this way they can find new friends. Or what are the advantages and disadvantages of living in the same place? Advantage is that, you know, all people around you in the surrounding neighborhood, and disadvantage is that you cannot sometimes improve, you cannot get acquainted with new people, something in this way. Okay, and the next part 2 is describe a difficult thing you did. Of course, if you're a student, I think that there are few things that you can consider difficult in your life, but some of them you can mention. For example, it's passing some exams, or it's preparing for an interview, if you have done this before. Here you have to say again what it was. Firstly, you like introduce this topic, what it was, then how you did, how you completed it, and why it was difficult and how you felt about it. Again, descriptive part and emotional part. Never forget to add some words that will show your attitude, will show your mood at this time. For example, you can say that you were struggling, you were very tired, you were about to give up at some moments, it was very difficult to you, but then you've got some motivation and you continued doing this. So here I'd advise using some motivational phrases that will also impress the examiner, and he will consider you as a good motivational speaker. The next questions are from part 3. What kinds of jobs require people to be confident? So here we see some questions about jobs, because probably these questions will be given to people who talk about some job interviews. But if you talk about the exam, probably they will ask you some questions about education or studying at university. Okay, but here we have about jobs. What kinds of jobs require to be confident? You can say that the jobs that require the communication with customers, with a large number of customers, when you communicate with customers almost every day. For example, you can be the representative of a company, you can work in a bank, in an insurance company, or you can be just a salesman, sales assistant, and you will communicate with many different people during a day. And these jobs, of course, require a lot of confidence, because while presenting a product, you should be very confident and you should kind of persuade this person to buy this product. Especially it relates to the people who present some products. On what occasions should children be encouraged and how? It's, of course, you can talk about some exams, it can be communication with their new friends, finding new friends. So people should be encouraged to this real situations in their lives. But of course, it's mostly about exams, I think, because passing an exam is the most stressful part of our life, especially when we are children, and that's why children should be very well prepared to this situation. And next, how do you help children stay focused? So it's, if you talk about your children, you can say how you can help them. For example, you can say that you can give them some tasks for a limited time, and then you can check them. And when they do something during a special time, they can stay focused, especially during this time. And what challenge do young people face today? You can talk about a high competition, because there are a lot of people who are really professionals in their sphere, and this can be very challenging for young people. Well, dear friends, I hope that this video will be helpful for you. I have covered two part 1 topics and two part 2 topics, and I hope that when you encounter them during your exam, my video will be really helpful for you. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press like button to support me. Thank you for watching. See you soon in the next video.